What's up, guys? It's your boy Dig Dash and I'm back with another video. In this video I'm going to show you all about this iPad 10.5 inch Pro. I think it's called the iPad Pro. This is my very first iOS device. I've purposely, deliberately not touched on Apple devices whatsoever because I've just not been interested in them. I'm so used to having devices that are open and free that I see no need to even look at an Apple device. But this one here intrigued me. I mean, I'm old school, like MDA Vario, Windows Mobile. I've had Android since the HTC Desire back in the day. I've had the OG Note, the Samsung OG Note. I've had various Samsung devices. My current device is a Google Pixel. I have had various Android tablets, but yeah, I've heard about this device, the iPad 10.5 inch Pro, with its amazing 120 hertz display, so it can basically ramp up the screen display refresh rate up to 120 times a second, which is absolutely amazing. And you know, despite my dislike of Apple and Apple products, you know, the hardware is amazing. So I had the opportunity to get one of these, so I got one of these, and I thought, why not do a comparison? You know, being an old school Android free OS head, you know, to iOS and the ecosystem that they provide. So yes, this is my first Apple product, and I'm very impressed with the hardware. No, it's absolutely amazing. It's really rapid. No lag whatsoever. There's my ugly mush. No, I'm just messing about with the camera, the front-facing camera, which isn't too bad. Apparently, this has got the front. It's got a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, FaceTime HD camera, I think they call it. And it has the cameras. So it has a back camera from the iPhone 7, I believe. So it's got very good hardware in terms of the photography side of things. It's got all sorts of kind of actions and slow-mo mode of 720p at 240 frames per second, which is stunning. But yeah, I mean, basically, I'm very impressed with the hardware, the software, not so much, the OS, not so much. I mean, in terms of it, it's very fluid. You know, you can jump between apps if there's any stuttering. It's somewhat intuitive. But coming from the background that I come from, like I said, the open OS, Android, Windows Mobile, which wasn't really that open back in the day, but at the same time, you know, I was able to get things done with it. I was able to, you know, use different ROMs with various different devices. When I had like the MDA Vario and whatnot, I used to switch between ROMs that I used to get from XDA developers. And I used to do the same thing with the various Android devices that I've had. You know, you can get unlocked ROMs, different kind of ROMs that do different things, that perform different functions better than others. You know, but with iOS, it's like it's locked down. Yes, I heard you can jailbreak these things, but you know, it never really appealed to me. Especially like, you know, back in the day, I used to like get a lot of pirated apps, and with iOS, it's just a headache. Whereas with Android, it's very easy to just download the APK of whatever you like, and more than often than not, it will work. You know, but with iOS, it's a completely different beast. And you know, just going through with this, I mean, I've had this device I've had it for about 5-6 days. So you know, I've really come to grips with iOS and how it works, and you know, I've seen some parts of it which is very intuitive and some parts which isn't. And you know, I still have that feeling of being locked down within iOS. You know, like if I want to go and download a torrent, I couldn't do that with this device as it is in the state. You know, I also have a Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. I think that's what it's called. So yes, the 8-inch version. And you know, I slap in a memory card, download uTorrent, and I can download torrents. I know it's old school, but you know, I'm not talking about torrent stealing things. I'm talking about if I was to download a torrent from my Raspberry Pi, I'd rather just use that device and use the laptop and just plug in the tablet, let it download via that into the memory card, and I can just quickly bash it onto the Raspberry Pi. But with iOS, there is no torrent apps in the App Store, which is unfortunate. I would have loved to use that for, I mean, it's got very fast Wi-Fi, so it would have been very quick to download via the iPad. But yeah, it was just simple things, and even just the flow between applications, they're not as good as Android. I mean, I can share stuff between Android apps literally just by sharing, whereas with iOS it's a little bit janky, and you know, I can't just like copy paste from. It's not as easy to copy and paste from like one application into another as it is with this Samsung Galaxy S2 tablet. So yeah, here's a comparison between the two. The iPad is 10.5 inches. Like I said, it's got that amazing screen. It's an IPS panel. Whereas the Samsung Galaxy S2, Samsung Galaxy Tab S2, has a Super AMOLED panel, which is absolutely gorgeous. You know, each pixel is its own power source. I mean, its own light source. And I know it looks like it's flickering on this camera, I think, because the sync between the camera and the refresh rate of the screen I've not quite synced up. But, you know, in person it doesn't flicker at all. But the screen's absolutely gorgeous, and 8 inches is just the right size for a tablet, I believe. And it's very portable. You can almost stick it in your pocket. It's very light. It's got the AMOLED display, which I love, especially at night, because I can just turn it right down, and if you're reading books, you can have the black background, you know, with white text, and it's very easy to read at night. The battery life is excellent. But yeah, just a comparison between the two. And as you can see, you know, the notification system on the iPad, on iOS in general, I feel it's absolutely disgusting. It's not very good. It's not very intuitive. It doesn't make sense. Now with Android, you can break down your notifications into the granular form. You can control your notifications. You can easily zip into your notifications. You can expand it. It's all grouped. You know, you can group swipe away your notifications, or you can put your certain notifications from certain applications to sleep. Whereas with iOS, it just doesn't work that way. The notification system is just not very intuitive to me. You know, it just doesn't make much sense to me. So I don't find it very useful at all. And I think the whole core of, you know, whatever device you're using, whether it be, you know, Android device, iOS device, is notifications. If it's a mobile device, you know, you definitely care about your notifications and how you receive them and how you are able to deal with them. You know, if you are, you know, if you run a blog, or if you run, you know, if you're a social media star, you definitely want to kind of have a way of controlling and managing your notifications. And with iOS, it's just a complete mess. I mean, Apple completely dropped the ball. I know Apple are known for, like, you know, stealing and improving on many ideas. But at the same time, you know, you should have learned from Android, because their notification system is excellent. It's only improved from Android 1.0. I mean, even Android 1.0, the notification system is superior to iOS, if that makes sense, because you had more control over the individual notifications. But as you can see, you know, the iPad 10.5 Pro is it's ridiculously fast. You know, it completely smokes, you know, my Galaxy Tab S2. But at the same time, you know, depending on what kind of applications you're used to, what kind of applications you use and how you use it, it's not a big deal. I mean, if you're just browsing the web, you're not going to care about how rapidly you can zip through a page or how smooth it is. You just want the device to load up the page quickly and display it clearly and efficiently. As you can see, like the way that the iPad scrolls, it kind of had this kinetic kind of scrolling where it just kind of almost has this rubber band effect, whereas Android just keeps going. You know, but so yes, I mean, it's pretty much neck and neck the way that they load up screens, but it's just the way that they handle the information is a little bit different. And you know, as you can see, that I'm using Chrome on both of these devices, but it handles it slightly differently. but I also have a lot more tabs open in the Galaxy Tab S2. But that shouldn't be a big deal because of the way that Chrome handles tabs. But also, there's a vast difference in kind of like the app stores. In Google, we have the Play Store, and obviously Apple have the App Store. And I find that the Play Store is a lot more intuitive as well. I mean, you start typing stuff in and relevant stuff to what you are searching for just pops up. And there's a lot more detail, a lot more information. It seems like a bigger store, and it's not easy to update. Things update automatically, and it just makes more sense. Whereas with iOS, it's well spaced out and it's nicely designed, should I say. But at the same time, I don't find it as useful or as helpful as the Play Store. The Play Store is just much more efficient. And as for like the information screens, when you swipe to the right, because I've got the Google Now launcher, you have Google Now right there with all the information, all the relevant information based on your searches, like websites and the weather and X, Y, and Z. Very useful. Whereas iOS has this janky kind of widget notification mess of a system going on with stuff I don't care about. So that's not very useful to me. And as for the cameras, I mean, like I said before, the iPad has a really good camera. It's a really excellent camera. Both sides, no complaints. But Samsung, everybody says they are a bit gimmicky, but at the same time, some of these gimmicks are quite useful. For example, like holding your hand in front of your face with the front-facing camera to take a picture. Excellent idea. So you can just plant your phone on a ledge, put your hand out, and it will take a picture of you. I'm about to demonstrate that myself, right there, right here. So as you can see, excellent. Whereas you can't do that with the iPad, but you can set a timer and so you can have a portrait, picture. But at the same time, I think it's really cool the way that the Samsung Galaxy Tab handles self-portraits using the front-facing camera. But what is also very useful with the iPad is that it has this flash simulation using the screen, which works pretty damn well, to be honest. But yeah, I was very impressed with both cameras. But in this particular instance, I feel as though, because of the way that the iPad obviously flashes the screen to illuminate your face or your hand or wherever it is, it kind of throws the colours a bit off, whereas the Samsung Galaxy Tab, I must just call it the Galaxy Tab, it just seems more natural and it seems to have a bit more detail. It's not as washed out. But as you can see, they both have beautiful screens, absolutely beautiful screens. I mean, even just down to like the home screen and the way that it deals with your apps is completely different than Android. As you can see, you can have widgets, whereas with the iPad, all your applications go onto the home screen, so you have to manage your own applications yourself by creating folders to put them in, and it's just not flexible. Just to customize it, you can't customize it to the way that you want. You don't have that control aside from just grouping stuff into folders, to help clean up your home screen. And also, when it comes to your control centers, should I say, as you can see, you can just swipe down with the Galaxy Tab within Android, and you have access to your Wi-Fi, the brightness of the screen, your Bluetooth very easily. Whereas with the iPad, it's an extra step and it's not as intuitive. And you have the multitasking and your quick switches on the same screen, and you can't easily clear all of your applications. You can just swipe down and press clear all in Android to clear all your active applications. Whereas with iOS, you have to manually remove active applications. So, yet again, I feel as though, a lot could be learned from Android, Apple. But as for the design, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The iPad is immaculate. I mean, it's got that metal body. I'm not sure. It's got the Apple logo. The Samsung's plastic, which means that it's very light. The The iPad is cold to the touch because it's got that metal body, but you know, it's just such a wonderful design. You can't really knock it. You can't really fault it. You know, it feels right in the hand. Excellent palm projection. As you can see, that the Samsung Galaxy Tab 2 has stereo speakers, but they're at the bottom of the screen. I had the Samsung Galaxy Tab S1, and it had speakers at the top and the bottom, which was excellent. Stereo speakers. Okay, and the iPad probably has the best audio setup that I've ever heard in a mobile device. It's absolutely amazing. It's got 4 speakers, stereo sound, you know, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and you know they're fire according to the way that you have the screen orientated. But it's absolutely amazing. It's really loud, it's vibrant, you know, it's got a little bit of bass as well. It puts out a surprising amount of sound out of a device that is so thin, so light. You would expect that kind of sound from a tiny little speaker. It's very impressive, very impressive. So I can't knock Apple for that. No, your hardware design is amazing, absolutely amazing. What I've also found is kind of the way that, like I said, the way that applications interact with each other, sharing stuff from one application to another, you know, linking stuff from, I don't know, hitting a link within Safari. It's just not as intuitive as it is in Android. Android is very easy to kind of share. You know, I could share a video from YouTube into TubeMate, download that video, share that video into Instagram in TubeMate. It's so intuitive. You can just share to share to share, and that applies to pictures, videos, text, whatever you can imagine. You can share, usually share within apps, and you can usually share. For example, if you were to, you know, edit an image that if you were to take a picture and you want to edit that image for Instagram, you can take that picture, share within the camera app into, I don't know, an image editor like Pixay, and then share that directly into Instagram. It is so intuitive. Whereas iOS is not as intuitive. It just doesn't flow as nice as Android. It really doesn't. So I think that's probably what should be worked on by Apple, the way that things flow within each other. But I mean, they always wanted this closed ecosystem from the get-go, so sharing between apps wasn't really their main priority, but it's probably something they should be working on. But anyway, looking at the way that YouTube works, I do like the gestures. You know, you can just pinch and you can just like expand your fingers to, you know, go full screen. Absolutely excellent. And the image quality is absolutely top notch. I feel like the YouTube app within Android is slightly better, which is not surprising, to be fair. But it's still a great viewing experience within the iPad, especially with those stereo speakers. You know, if you haven't got headphones set up, you can just use that. If you was on holiday in a hotel room, you can watch a movie on the iPad and use the stereo speakers and be fairly happy with it. It's quite a good setup. It's quite a good audio visual setup. You know, so yeah. These 2 tablets. Just a quick wrap up. The iPad, the hardware is amazing, absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. You know, it's a little bit big for me, but the hardware is beautiful. The screen is amazing. The stereo speakers are fantastic. It's fast. It's rapid. No slowdown. It's a wonderful device. But I feel like the OS lets it down. It's not as great as it could be. If it was running Android, it would be the best device ever. Android, as you can see, Samsung, the hardware, the screen is amazing. The build quality is not as great as the iPad. The sound quality is not as good as the iPad. But it's still a wonderful device, and I would recommend Android over iOS and iPad any day of the week, despite the fact that the hardware is pretty good. Anyway, guys, please like, subscribe. Peace.